Yay, I'm live. A YouTube live or something like this. There's sometimes this delay and it goes around and around and around and around. And it's like you wonder if you'll ever get to be alive live. And so, yay, I'm alive. Hello, I know there's 3 of you here. Marge Frankie's here. And I'd love to know who else is here so that I can hopefully engage you in some chats today. We're talking about something a little bit different in a sense than we were. Fred Frankie's here. Hi, Fred. Glad you're here. I forgot to get myself a glass of water. Hang on a second. So we're doing something different today, we being me, because this week, which is the week of October 4th, 2021, we launched a boot camp. It's called Inward Bound Boot Camp for Self-Transformation. And you can find the link below. And so there's so many people that want to transform. They want transformation in their life. And at the same time, it's like, how do you do that? What is it? And there's a lot of transformational coaches out there. And what the heck are they doing? What am I doing? I'm a transformational coach. I've been training people to be transformational coaches for 20 years. So what the heck is it? And why is it so important? Why is it it's a big buzzword right now, thus transformation? And there's other words that are related to transformation, like alchemy and the paradigm shift and change and magic and miracles. And so all of that will be kind of tied up in this conversation today, or that's my plan anyway. So first of all, it's boot camp. It's 20 videos over 4 weeks. You can just click on the link below and it'll take you to the playlist. And that's really cool. You'll see what's there. And there's also in that description, there's an opportunity to opt into receiving an email every day that gives you a link to the YouTube playlist. And that way you just have to click on one as opposed to opening up YouTube and going to that playlist and seeing which day you're on, those kinds of things. So each day of the videos, it's less than 10 minutes. Each day is less than 10-minute video. And it gives you an opportunity to see what elements are part of this process. Transformation is a process. Life is a process. And so we're incrementally, moment by moment, inch by inch, day by day, moving ourselves into and through transformative experiences. We're doing it all the time. We're going from infancy to crawling, to standing, to walking, to running. We go through educationally transforming ourselves from a place of, in a sense, ignorance, in a sense we don't know, or innocence, to educating ourselves and knowing quite a bit, and maybe even being masterful at elements of utilizing our intelligence. There's our physical transformations that we go through. Women go from a place of childhood and adolescence to a place where they can then create babies and make babies in their bodies. And the same with men. They get to a point where they can make sperm, which obviously can fertilize eggs and make babies. So those are, in a sense, part of our transformative processes that we take for granted because we don't have to do anything. They just basically show up unless you're one of those people that have a challenge with that. But generally speaking, those elements of life are transformative in who we become. When we get married, there's something that happens, an alchemical thing, an energetic, vibrational, resonantal thing that happens. We take it for granted, but these things are very much a part of this transformative process of living this life. Hi, Lissa. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. So we're going to talk about some of those things. I want to share with you that like I said, the boot camp link is below, so make sure you check that out. And my experience with transformation is kind of strange. Um, Throughout my life, I've noticed things, and I think this is normal. So I just think it's normal. If it's not, let me know if it's normal for you or not. But there's those experiences that are synchronistic, which is like, wow, you thought of a friend and all of a sudden they call you on the phone, or you look at the clock and every time you look at the clock, it's like 2:22 or 11:11 or something unusual. So there's these synchronicities, or you just things that happen. You think about, oh gosh, wouldn't it be great to have hot dogs for dinner? And all of a sudden your friend calls you up and says, hey, I want to go for hot dogs. You want to go? Those kinds of things happen. And you go, wow, that's kind of interesting. And so I noticed those kinds of things and other what we would consider magical or metaphysical things that happen. And it wasn't a big deal. But they were consistent, and I noticed those. And I don't know if you have noticed those things and have been consistent for you, but for me, they're consistent. And consistent might mean, I just noticed them throughout my life, but never thought of them as transformative, just different. I had an experience out on the sailboat. I sailed across the Atlantic Ocean when I was 42. And it was a 93-foot schooner. It was a big, beautiful boat. But I was terrified. I was really scared. And there was nothing to be afraid of. The boat was safe. The people on the boat, there were 8 of us, 7 of us. Everybody was safe. But I just had this experience of this fear I was going to die any moment. Until this one night when I was laying in this bed, a nice big size, queen size bed. This was very comfortable schooner sailboat. And I was laying in the bed and I was grabbing the sheets and holding on just so I wouldn't fall off the bed, kind of thing. We're just rolling back and forth, nothing dangerous, just that way. And I had this experience that I was in the belly of this boat, and this boat was in the belly of the ocean. It was safe, and the ocean was in the belly of this earth. It was safe, and the earth was in the belly of this galaxy, and it was safe. And so all of these layers just, it was an experience of, I guess one would call a numinous experience or transcendent experience, where I was beyond the moment of being clenched in the boat. And that is a transformative experience, that it changed me in a sense that that the transformative process was like, I went from this person that was scared to, I don't have anything to be afraid of, and could feel far more safe and connected to the boat and connected to the earth and connected to everything. It was a really beautiful experience of connection. And that was pretty fascinating for me. And it just really allowed me to be more comfortable in this experience on the ocean. And so we crossed the ocean and the rest of the journey went, and that was fine. And later I ended up at a school. I left the sailing, went to the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology, and actually taught sailing on the San Francisco Bay for about 4 or 5 years. And in that time, I'd had a number of transformative experiences, just the quality of these moments of oneness with the boat, or quality of oneness with the water. And there was this experience of oneness that occurred a number of times for me, and my students would say things like that as well, that it was transformative. So I ended up doing my dissertation on sailing as a transformational process, and so I had to study what transformation was, because it's like we have a sense of it being something that we want, but what is it and how does it happen? And in essence, that what transformation, again, it's a process, and we think of it as a moment. We think, I've got my magic wand here. Yes, my magic wand. And people think that, as I call myself a fairy godmother quite often, and as a fairy godmother, I'll tell people, and like people who are potential clients, or even clients that I do have, I say, I'm your fairy godmother. And when I wave my magic wand, I want you to imagine that you can have whatever it is that you want. In a sense, I wave my magic wand and I empower you to empower yourself to have what you want. I empower you to empower yourself to have what you want. And in that moment, something happens. And they don't have what they want, but they can imagine what they want. They've shifted paradigms. They've shifted from a fear-based, lack-based, worth-based, I'm undeserving based kind of reality to a magical moment of freedom to choose, freedom to dream, freedom to imagine, freedom to create. And this is where in that moment, there's a shift in the state of being. This is really important if you're interested in transformation, because we're not changing what you do in this moment. We're changing a state of being. And the state of being goes from fear, lack, unworthy, undeserving, incompetent, whatever those words are. We go from that to, again, to creating and imagining and delighting in. And there's a shift in this being open and free to be, free to be exploring and delighting and fascinating. There was a word there. The word, help me. Uh, um, but imagining, which is so much more delightful and connecting than I can't and I won't be able to and nobody else could and it's impossible to something else. In that moment, there's a shift from being disappointed, frustrated, disconnected to excited and fun and playful and energy. That state of being is what's really required in order to create this process of transformation. We have to go from a paradigm that's fear-based and lack-based, which is 98% of the world we live in, the consensus reality we live in. We have to shift the paradigm. That's a paradigm, a way of seeing the world and being in the world and connecting the world. And we don't even give a second thought to the possibility of it being different, except when we go into an imagination or imagining and dreaming. Oh my God, I'm so excited about the possibility. I would love, when we think about our, what's your dream partner? What's your dream home? What's your dream place that you'd like to live? When we imagine, we go into a different state of being. And as a transformational coach, what I want to do, and I think of myself as a thinking partner, is I want to help you cultivate that state of being where that imagination is much more accessible to you. And in the boot camp, that's what we talk about. We talk about the incremental steps of the process of transformation. What are the process? What's the process like? Because I can wave my magic wand and go, yeah, I'm empowering you to empower yourself to create that. But then how do you do that? And that's a big question. And it's not about manifesting so much in the physical form. It is, because in essence, the end result will be a manifestation in physical form of a different you, perhaps, or a different state of like where you live, or you manifest that which you want, a wonderful dog or fish, aquarium, or whatever it is, pair of earrings that you love, or, a creative outlet that you would love to do, like paint or dance or sing, something like that. So creating that is this process, but it's the state of being. And the state of being is something we don't even think about, which is with us 24/7. We are an eternal being. We are being constantly. We are never not being. And I'm saying that because it's kind of a funny thing that we don't think about ourselves as being. And quite often I'll ask the question for people, it's like, what's the quality of being when you're with your kids or with your at work? What's the quality of being? And they go, quality of being, I don't know what that is. It's like, what's the state of being? What's it like being you when you're at work? And it's like, I don't really know. But the fascinating thing is that that state of being, which is constant, influences what we do and how we do it, how we express ourselves in the world. It's everything. And the state of being, again, we're for me, we are eternal beings, we're divine beings, we're spiritual beings, and we're human beings. And most of that divine spiritual being stuff we don't consider. We just see ourselves as being human, and we've cultivated a sense of self based on our childhood. And so we cultivate a state of being. And if my state of being is insignificant, which I grew up as the sixth of 9 kids, that's middle child, pretty insignificant, pretty invisible. So I came to see myself as being that. My state of being was insignificant, invisible, incompetent. I didn't know how to be me. I was invisible even to myself. And so that was my state of being. And I didn't know much more. And so going through life and trying to attempt to create a sense of self based on what I was supposed to do and what I did want. I wanted children, I wanted to be married, I wanted a house, I wanted those things, but those were part of the state of being, like that would give me a sense of self versus the self state of being that I thought was me. So every way that we've been being has been something we've cultivated over time. Now, as I've gone through this process of transformation, of the process of life, which is transformative, each of the steps that I've taken, each of the shifts and changes, shifts me incrementally, shifts you incrementally through life. And part of my work as a coach, a life coach, is to be a thinking partner for who are you? Who are you in there? What's it like being you in this experience, wherever you are, even in this conversation now, in this live chat, you're here and you're having an experience, and that experience is based on who you be and how you be. And so this is very fundamental to this transformative process. Change takes place on the level of doing or thinking or feeling. I'm going to change the way I feel today. I'm going to change the way that I think today. I'm going to change my clothes today. I'm going to change my room today. So those are actions. And those actions, like I said, they can be the way I think, the way I feel, or what I think, what I say. I can change the way I say things. I can whisper. I can change the way I whisper louder. I can change all kinds of things. But that changing doesn't require me to be different. Certainly, I'll tell you, it's easier. And that's why I work at the being level, at the transformational level versus the doing level, because you change how you be. If I'm an angry, bitter person, which has been part of my state of being, I didn't even know how bitter and angry I was. But in the being treated as insignificant and invisible, I was angry and bitter because I couldn't get anyone to see who I was. People saw me as this attractive little girl, and oh, isn't she pretty? But nobody saw me. Nobody acknowledged me in there. And I'm sure this is true for so many of us. And so many of us are bitter and angry or frustrated or sad or disappointed. And that's an underlying way of being in the world. And so when I wave my magic wand and say, I empower you to empower yourself to have what you want, and they go, oh, I want this. And I go, what needs to shift so that's a possibility? And people will say, well, my attitude is that I'm pretty pissed off with the world. I'm pretty angry at people. I'm pretty bitter. It's like, okay, great. So what needs to shift? I need to shift that so that I can, because that's not helping. It's not making it easier for me to meet people or to enjoy people's company, to, potentially find a partner I'm looking for. So that state of being is so important in shifting in order for us to have what we want to create in the world. And that's the big part of this process. So change change is something that we can change, but that is very, very difficult. People who want to change their bodies, in a sense, people who are obese, or even they want to lose 10 pounds, and it doesn't have to be obesity, it can be just 10 pounds. But people who want to change their relationship with their bodies and make it more healthy, but they can't. And when I ask them what's in the way, they'll say a lot of stuff, which points to a state of being unhappy, a state of being frustrated or disempowered or abused or violated. And these states of being are underlying everything. And when we can look at that and acknowledge and appreciate those states of being, that they're there, we can start to let them go potentially and change that, transcend or transform those states of being into something else. This is where alchemy comes in, and transcendence and transmutation, all these words that we go, wait, no, we're just talking about life coaching and transformational coaching or transformational leadership or transformational business. It's like, where is alchemy and miracles and transmutation and transcendence? Where does that come in? And it's like, when we shift the way that we're being in the world, when we're seeing, oh, my state of being, generally speaking, is grumpy when I'm at work, but I want to get a raise and I want to get a promotion, but I'm grumpy all the time, and I'm not willing to do what I'm supposed to do because I'm pissed off and grumpy. I guess I have to shift and change my grumpiness into something else if I really want that raise and that promotion. So we begin to transcend. We start to go, okay, I got to change this attitude of mine. And am I willing to let go of that? Am I willing to shift that? Am I willing to give up my pissiness or my bitterness or my resentment? Am I willing to give that up for the sake of a promotion or a raise or a new position or a new career, a new anything, a new healthy body? Am I willing to shift my being to something in order to bring about what I want to bring about in the world? So if this has any, if you guys are out there and this makes sense to you, I would love to get a thumbs up or something that says you're hearing me or listening to me, or this makes sense. I wrote a book called, I'll get it. Hang on a second. I wrote a book called You Know You're Transforming When ... It's 101 everyday indications that you are creating a life happier ever after. A life happier ever after. So again, it's You Know You're Transforming When. And it's a great book. And I wrote it a number of years ago, and I wrote it because people want transformation. And thank you for the thumbs up. Hello, David. I'm glad you're here. A lot of people want transformation, and they don't know when they're transforming. They don't know that they're already transforming. And so these were 101 everyday indications that you are transforming. And so that was a really fun book to read. Right. And I wrote, You Know You're Transforming. This is just one. I just opened the page. You know you're transforming when safety and security are no longer your highest priorities, for you know you are always safe and secure as the eternal presence of divine grace. So that's one. And here's another. You know you're transforming when giving your experience a deep gratitude for having so much. When giving, you know you're transforming when you're giving and you experience a deep gratitude for having so much. I really love that. And there's more of those. The point of that is I wrote, I think in the introduction that, and I wrote a blog about it as well, that transformation is not for sissies, because it's not like, again, I can wave my magic wand. We go to psychics, we go to people who are prophets, or the psychic or the astrologers, because we want answers. We think that if we have answers, that's going to transform our lives. It's going to give us peace. It's going to give us a sense of that the future is not so scary. And that helps a little bit, but we look outside ourselves for that comfort and that security, and it only lasts a few hours maybe before we start doubting that. Well, maybe it's not true, or maybe it didn't work, or maybe they don't know what they're talking about. Maybe they're not that good. So transformation, what was I going to say? It's not what it's cracked up to be. That miracle thing we want is not, transformation isn't cracked up to be what what we think it is, because it's a lot of work. Again, it's not like you can go to an astrologer and they're going to tell you your life situation, or a hand reader and they're going to tell you your life lessons and your life purpose, and you go, oh, I got it all figured out now. You still have to go walk the walk. You still have to be like the little caterpillar crawling wherever you have to crawl to get to a place where you're going to create this chrysalis, which is a process of metamorphosis, where you're going to shift and change in ways that you don't even know. Just like in ways that you may already be changing and transforming and you don't even know. So transformation isn't all it's cracked up to be, because number one, it's like, what are you going to transform into? You don't know. This little caterpillar person doesn't know how to I want to be a butterfly. It's like, do you know how to do a butterfly? No, but I probably will if I am that. It's like, yeah, no, you won't. You won't. We want to do this magic manifestation into something else, and we don't know how to do that. And so there's the magic, if you will, and the manifestation. And this is a lot of science and research has been done, for instance, with people who've won lotteries. They've won millions and millions of dollars. It has not made their life happier. And quite often they lose it all. Plus they lose friends and relatives and relationships because of the dynamics of what that transformative process was supposed to do. But it ended up not doing that at all, because in a sense, vibrationally and every other way, we don't know how to have $1 million or $60 million. We don't know how to do that. And so the transformative process can be very challenging. It is challenging. So that's a big part of this this deal is it's not cracked up. It isn't what it's cracked up to be, and it's not for sissies, because it really requires a level of presence and a level of commitment and dedication to that which you say you want. So when people say, I want transformation, it's like, well, what does that mean? What does it look like when you're transformed? What does it feel like? What's it like being you in that state of transformation? Tomorrow, I'm talking at a conference. It's the ASSIST conference, and ASSIST stands for the American Center for the Integration of Spiritually Transformative Experiences. So I trained coaches for ASSIST to work with people who've had spiritually transformative experiences and want support and to help them integrate those spiritually transformative experiences into their life. And so I'm talking at this conference tomorrow about the pragmatic elements of how to work with people. And what it comes down to for me is, what's the experience that you're looking to have while, in this particular situation, while sitting with a person who has had spiritually transformative experiences and wants support and that help and to integrate. What's your experience? What is it you're looking for? And therefore you're going through this training so that you can work with people who have had spiritually transformative experiences. So what is it that you're looking to experience for yourself? So all of us are looking to have an experience. We want to win the lottery. So we have an experience that we're looking forward to having. We want to get married. We want to have children. We want to move to Orcas Island. We want to move to the beach because we're wanting a certain experience. And that certain experience is that state of being. It's like, oh, I want to be on the beach and I want to watch the sunset. And it's like, what's the experience that you can imagine yourself having? A state of being that you're in while you're sitting on the beach watching the sunset. It's an experience. And that's what we're all looking for. So tomorrow in this conversation with this group of people, I'll be asking them that question. What is the experience you're looking to have as a support or an agent of integration, agent of transformation? Because we don't ask ourselves those questions. But if we don't ask those questions, we can't figure out how to get there. We can't go, wait, here's what's in the way of that. And that's all we're talking about, in a sense, is seeing what's in the way. Here's what I want. I want the house on the beach in Hawaii. I want to be able to work from my deck and just enjoy life in that state of being. What's that state of being? Relaxed and free and living in beauty, which gives me a sense of tranquility. Those kinds of things. There's a state of being tranquil and serenity and delighted in bliss, in a sense of being in that state of being. So the question is, what's in the way? And what's then, when we ask ourselves the question, what's in the way, we go, oh, yeah, well, I don't know if I have enough money. So there's a belief that I need a certain amount of money to do that. And it's like, well, and then there's I've got this debt already, and I would be leaving behind my parents who are getting old. And so becomes all of these obstacles to having this. And so people quite often will say, yeah, no, I can't do this because I've got this. And they don't look at it beyond that to say, how can we shift this so you can see it differently, so that you can, in a sense, transform, transmute, transcend the obstacles and the perceptions and the way that we're looking at life and you're looking at life, so that actually this becomes a no-brainer. It becomes a no-brainer. And our certain paradigm doesn't allow us that freedom of choice. It doesn't allow us the freedom to go, of course, I can have that. I was talking to somebody today. It was a text I got from a client who is like, wanting to have some explanation about why do some people just get money so easily and other people don't. She's saying even bad people, or people who are using money for the wrong reason, why do they get money and somebody who's good doesn't? And it's like, partly because their paradigm, the way that they see money, it's like there's no obstacles to having money. Most of us create obstacles to having money. And when we remove those obstacles, when we let go of the limiting beliefs and the constraining ideas we have about money, something shifts and more money comes in. But and so for those people who have a lot of money, there's nothing in the way. And so we have to shift that sense of how we perceive and how we interpret. And those are all those limiting beliefs and ways of seeing the world. And when we can go, that's a limiting perspective. Can you let go of that? There's a leap of faith. And so transformation requires a leap of faith, because you're going from a consensus view of reality, the way that we're taught and trained to live in this world. And we're taught to leave that behind and come into this paradigm, which is fearless. Fear, it's not based on fear. The world that we live in is based on fear. The world that we're creating, I think a lot of us are creating, is this new paradigm. My company's called the paradigm shifts, because the paradigms are shifting. And as we become more aware of where we limit ourselves because we think the way that we do, when we when we're clear about that, we can go, wait a second, I don't have to think that way. That was a big point for me when I was struggling and suffering and unhappy. And I had to kind of put a stake in the ground and tie myself to that and go, wait, just stay right here and let's look at this. There are people in the world that have decided to do it differently, and they're being successful at it. They've let go of the way it was. They've let go of the way that they thought. They've let go of a lot of things, and it's working for them. If it's working for them, there's no reason why it can't work for me. And that was really helpful because I had to think differently. I had to be willing to take the leap of faith to say, if somebody else is doing it, I can do it. If somebody else is creating a different way of being in the world based on spiritual values and principles that I happen to believe, and they're doing it, I can do it. And that was really, really helpful. And that's part of what I want to do is I want to be, I want to hold that stake and say, here's where I'm at. Here's how I got here. Here's some of the ways you're getting here. And the boot camp is a way of saying, hey, this is a way you can get there too. The boot camp isn't about by the end of 4 weeks, you're going to be transformed. By the end of 4 weeks, you're going to have a lot more information about yourself and where you are in the process and how you want to be in this process of transformation. People go, hey, here's how I want to be in this process of transformation. I want to be happy and blissful and feel spiritual and at peace. And I don't want the hard stuff. I don't want the crappy stuff. I don't want the messy stuff. And that's why I wrote this blog, and it was called People Want Transformation, but they just don't want to change. Because when there's change, there's the belief in loss. Like there's grief. Like if I change, I have to give this up. It's like, well, you really only have to give it up if you want this enough. It's not a sacrifice if this is your greater goal. And people get into the dilemmas. I want this, but I want this. I want this, but I don't want this that might come with that. And all of that dilemma stuff, that's why I did the playlist on spiritual dilemmas, because we're constantly in that state of trying to bargain by saying, okay, I want this. I want to live on the beach in Hawaii. And I want to not have to deal with my parents being upset about that, or don't want to have to deal with the guilt of letting go, of leaving back people behind that I love. I want this, but I don't want to deal with the guilt. I don't want to deal with, the changes. It's like, yeah. So we want the transformation. We just don't want to change. And so that's, I think, a very funny thing. And true. And it's true for me too. I would like to have what I want to have and not have to go through all of the rigmarole, the elements of the change process. I don't want to become more conscious of myself and make the choices that I have to make, and look at what happens because of that, and deal with the grief issues. There's some anger that comes up. I don't want to deal with that. Jeez, but it's part of the process, and it's part of life. It's like so many of us as grown-ups are attempting to live in a childlike way by ignoring responsibilities that would make our lives responsibilities to ourselves, not responsibilities in terms of paying bills and rent and those kinds of things, but being responsible for our own evolution, our own development. People look to, this is the same with people going, oh, I think I'll just get spiritual. And it's like, you can't just get spiritual. Because what happens is the same thing is you start to change and it gets uncomfortable, and then you're pissed off because getting spiritual is supposed to be easy. We think that God exists only in bliss and beauty and joy and love. That's what we think. But God exists in the bitterness and the anger and the defeat and the sadness and the horribleness that we undertake in life. God lives in our cells, in our, God, the divine energy of life source is everywhere. It's not just in the good stuff. And when we can realize that, we can go, okay, I'm with God, even though I'm upset and sad and feel really, really uncomfortable. These are some elements of this process that are very difficult. I would love to know who's out there. I would love to know if you have any comments or thoughts about what I'm saying, and if it's at all valuable. David, are you still here? You always have something very wise to say. So one of the questions I wrote down was, can we create a transformative experience? And when I went, some of you may know that a couple of months ago in August, I went on a 6-day horseback trip where we went up into the mountains in Washington, and it was extremely beautiful. But before I went, somebody said, "Are you gonna have a transformational experience out there?" And it was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna show up. And it might show up, right? I don't know, because I'm not going out there with my pendulum or my cards, tarot cards. I'm not going out there with any of the physical or metaphysical tools to create something. No candles, nothing special, no big prayer ritual. Nothing. I went out there to be, and to just be myself. And that's pretty that's pretty transformational, to be with myself. And there were 11 of us all together, 9 participants in the actually there's 12 of us, and then the staff, and they were wonderful people. Um, and I was there to be me, and I was there to be with my horse, the horse that was given to me. I didn't know this horse before, but to have the relationship I could have with a horse over 6 days, and just to have that experience. And I think even now, like 2 months later, a month and a half later, I'm still engaged in the unfolding of the transformative process that occurred, by being in such solitude, if you will, in at 8,000 feet. No car noises, those kinds of things. It's like, what does that do to my being, my cellular being, my human being, the quality of being, and being out there, asking myself, what's the quality of life that I want to have when I come back to civilization, if you will. And those are questions that can support and empower me to move through, again, more transformative processes. And I don't know what it means. I don't know what's possible. I know that since I've been home, I've gone through some very challenging physical discomforts, which quite often happens when you're in a transformational process. Is the cellular memory, the cellular density starts to clear. It's like being having a detox, or going through a detoxing process where your cells release stuff. And when they're releasing stuff, you can have headaches, or toothaches, or teeth aches, or things that don't make sense. Like, why do I feel this way? Because it's your body letting go and releasing. And this is a constant part of a transformational process. A transformative process is, we're letting go of the old. We're letting go of the density in order to emerge and move up and ascend into our higher sense of self, where good things can happen, where we can manifest money and manifest the life that we dream of, as opposed to being stuck in the density of the old ideas of fear, and the ideas that we have to be punished, or we have to sacrifice. We have to do without for whatever reasons. We have to feel guilty for. And in this paradigm shift process, we can go, wait, I don't need to do that. Or do I? Do I need to feel guilty about this? And me, as your thinking partner, I'd say, well, That's a really good question. How is that guilt serving you? How does it serve you to remain in that state of guilt? And that's my job as a thinking partner, is to keep asking questions, keep asking you questions. Like, how is that serving you to stay in that line of thinking? And what this does is it cultivates intelligence within you. Intelligence is not just that you believe things or judge things or you learn things, but that you can take your own intelligence and question reality, question beliefs, question judgments, question rules and dogma, and go, that doesn't make sense. I never thought I had to believe it. I was told to believe this, but actually it doesn't make sense to me. And a lot of our world is going through this realization that we can question reality. And we have a lot of different laws in the world now, and especially in our United States, where, people that were tortured and killed because they were homosexuals they have the freedom to marry and be legal, be legal, whatever that means, right? So there's all these changes that are occurring in our reality, and that's because somebody stood up to go, yeah, no, that's not a thing that I'm choosing. This is who I am as a being. In the state with our race, our religions, we all are learning to have our genders, right? It's like women weren't real people. Black people were not real people. Those kinds of things, those kinds of beliefs, and a lot of those have gotten transcended to whatever degree they have gotten transcended. There's still a lot of work to do. So, any other thoughts? So some of this we'll be talking about. I'm going to talk about transformation for the next 3 or 4 months, 3 or 4 weeks anyway. We're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about transformation requires a leap of faith and what that's all about. And October 21st, we're going to talk about what's the most frequently asked questions about transformation. And then on the 28th, we're going to talk about the questions that have come up most in the Inward Bound Bootcamp for Self-Transformation. We're going to talk about what people who are going through this bootcamp, what are their questions? What are they up to? What are they experiencing? So that'll kind of be fun to kind of get a look into that process, hopefully, for some people. So anything else that you guys have a question about? Again, if you're interested in the boot camp, or somebody that you would find the boot camp could be fun for, look below, and there's in the description is the link to the boot camp, and just share that with people, because it's actually, I think, a pretty wonderful experience. Even though I did it and I had some great help and support, I think it's really a pretty wonderful experience that people can take themselves on. It's exceptionally gentle and just kind of a fun exploration. So I think that's pretty much it for today. Anybody else have anything else to say before I sign off? All right. Well, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it. For those of you who are joining me as looking at the video as it's a pre-recorded, it's recorded. I'd love to hear any questions that you have or comments about transformation. You might have had some transformational experiences that you'd like to share, or what I've been talking about in terms of the challenges of what we consider to be a transformative experience. Let me know down below. And please, if you found value in this video at all, please like it and please share it so that others may find value in it too, perhaps. All right. Thanks again. Bye for now. Oops.